Oh, there's your. Okay, you're back again. I see you colored your
So,
hair.
well, I kind of had an accident, but I'm gonna fix it tomorrow. Yeah, it was supposed to be very light platinum, but as you can see, it's more blue. But that's
Now,
okay.
now you more look
I have to make
like a Star Wars.
I have to make it work for tonight. It wasn't supposed to be blue, but
Okay. Marlies says it actually looks very beautiful. She's standing next
thank
to me
you.
and punching me because I just wanted to say something else. Marlies, say hello.
Hi, how are you?
She's my tech expert. Right, I'll be starting.
Your tech, well, yeah, already started. So, how are you this
Right.
morning?
Brandy, I'm fine, and
So,
yourself? Are you healthy? Are you healthy now?
yes, I feel much better. Um,
What what was wrong?
so, I don't know. I had the flu a couple of weeks ago, and I guess I just never got completely better from it, because I thought I
Yeah,
felt good, and then I didn't feel good at all. So,
yeah, but you must remember,
um,
in Texas, everything is bigger, even the flu.
that is true. I very rarely get the flu, but when I do, like, it's really bad. But so we were going to speak about the judges, and actually, I've seen this list that came out of the judges being paid, and this is a huge issue, and this definitely relates to you because of, I mean, just all of the nonsense that you've been through, with the court system. So anyway, we were going to talk about that tonight, guys, and we're going to get Johan's opinion on these judges.
Right, Brandy, let's start. The whole world has got secrecy
So
provisions. The whole world has got secrecy provisions. Secrecy is slapped on everything. Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Now, when you talk about secrecy provisions, I mean, after Second World War, there's been a 50-year ban on exposure of documents. Things are coming out 50 years after Second World War. This is a provision being
Mm-hmm.
used by governments, and it's in most cases used to hide illegality. The government, by definition, is an illegal institution. Because why do we need a government?
To
Government
protect the
creates,
people and look
uh,
after their best interest. That's their first job.
unfortunately, if that were but true, governments never
True.
protect the rights of the people. They never. Governments always abuse the rights of the people. What I've seen so many times, is that good meaning, well meaning politicians, the moment they get into positions of power, they get subverted. I'll give you an example. Trevor Manuel, when he became Minister of Finance, the first thing he did was to go and fly the Concorde. I mean, South Africa is a pisswater little country.
Yeah.
Minister of Finance to go out and to go and fly the Concorde. One thing about Trevor Manuel was very good. He brought in specialists to do the job around him. That is extremely important. But let us go back to secrecy. You know, secrecy provisions, whether it's in the States, whether it's in Russia, whether it's in Iran, whether it's in Iraq, whether it's in Britain, secrecy provisions prevail, and it is claimed to protect the interests of the state. What is the
Hmm.
interest of the state? Robert Mugabe has passed away as a freedom fighter,
Hallelujah.
but also a kleptomaniac. Interesting enough, all these criminals tend to be kleptomaniacs. And Robert Mugabe again started out well and got subverted because money colors people's judgment, and then they can't get enough. And the big thing is Sun Tzu. You know the writings of Sun Tzu? He was
Yes, I do.
at,
Very well.
yeah, he was at one stage advisor on the military to a certain king in China. a very strong state. And the opposition could not, they were afraid, they could not take them on. So they devised a plan. They donated, gave a gift of 100 horses with the most beautiful leather saddles and gold braided bridles, and some 40 maidens, beautiful, nubile, sexy maidens dancing. And the king, oh yes, and by the way, every horse saddlebag was filled with gifts for the king and gold. And the king,
Wow.
the maidens were dancing in front of the queen, well, in front of the king. And the third day he got so enchanted with them, he started dancing along. After 2 weeks of neglecting his work as king and dancing with the maidens, Sun Tzu resigned. And that was the moment the opposition decided, now we'll take him, because his biggest advisor, military, was taken out. So brains will always beat brawn. Remember that. But when it comes to secrecy, especially in the South African context, secrecy is being used to mask corruption. You have got the first consult report where some $300 million went astray to Cyprus.
Yeah.
Which ended up with Ivo Rashikovic and Paramount, as the allegation goes, and Thabo Mbeki, and Moletsi Mbeki, his brother, and many other people. And yet, despite all the provisions in America about corruption and all the agreements you have to sign if you want to deal with America, Boeing signs an agreement with Paramount. Yes, they haven't been found guilty, but there's a prima facie case. Come on. If it looks like a duck, and it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's got to be a damn duck. Simple. But now the big thing is, everything is cloaked in secrecy. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa came to power as the big hope for South Africa. You must remember one thing, I've always said it and I still maintain, Cyril Ramaphosa works for British MI6. As do Thabo Mbeki and most of the people that studied in London at the London School of Economics, the University of Sussex.
Malema, Mugabe.
Exactly. But Mugabe was a British agent, a German agent, BND, Bundesnachrichtendienst. Now the situation is that, can we work with MI6? Yes, why not? Why not? The world's intelligence services, and this is not only in South Africa, the world's intelligence services are where the criminals reside. The CIA is known to be one of the biggest drug lords in the world. There's so many books written about it in America. Not me saying so, I'm just looking at it. Yes, I'm listening.
Sorry. I just spoke about this the other day. I was speaking of El Chapo. And when El Chapo first was extradited to the United States, his attorney filed a saying that you cannot prosecute him because he has an agreement with the CIA and the DEA. Of course, they denied it, but I do not believe that for 1 second. I believe they absolutely had to deal with him, and they didn't keep their end of the bargain.
If you go and look at the work from Elaine Shannon, Catching LaRue, she mentions me specifically in there. She talks about the old crocodile, which is my friend. He's actually a small crocodile in length, but in years he's definitely an old crocodile. But the big thing is, Paul Kelder LaRue, South African born, Zimbabwean raised, married in Australia and moved to the Philippines. He wrote the encryption system for the CIA.
Right, I remember reading that.
Yeah.
Yes,
He also wrote the launch codes for the Iranians. Now you can go and do your sums of, you can do your calculations what I just told you. You will come to the right conclusion. In any case, let us go back. There's been lots of rumors going around, and it's been propping up in social media. Wouter Lance is one of the people that came up with it. Talking about 44 people that received money from Cyril Ramaphosa's CR17 campaign. 43 judges and one person, senior person at the Independent Electoral Commission. Now, going back again, the IEC was staffed in the beginning by George Soros's people, Open Foundation. But the big thing is the first names of the judges have started coming out. And what is interesting enough, the same judges that have been involved in cutting down the public protector. I'm not necessarily taking a side, but the way in which it was done, you could see that the judges were reading a judgment which wasn't written by them, because when they lost their mark, they couldn't find it again. It was a search. It was a joke. But the point is,
wow,
these are the judges that received money. Shamila Batoy, according to this list, if it is true, she is the director of the National Prosecuting Authority. She took over from that criminal, Johan Erasmus. Johan Erasmus is very much involved in anything that is dark and black. And Johan Erasmus is the one guy that has been instrumental in messing up my life under the law. So don't talk to me about the law in this country, because it doesn't exist. Why do you think the lady with the scales are blindfolded? So she can't see who's raping her. Okay, simple. Shamila Batoy, according to this document, received 1.7 million plus rand in March of 2018. She's the one who issued the arrest warrants for Secrecy at the Zondo Commission. The Monday after Secrecy had been arrested over the weekend, 22 people apparently withdrew their affidavits from the Zondo Commission. And it was claimed that these people were implicating Cyril Ramaphosa. Now you must remember one thing, who brought the Guptas into South Africa? Cyril Ramaphosa. Cyril Ramaphosa hasn't run anything on a successful basis. Cyril is not as clever as Trevor Manuel by putting people there who can make things happen. And look at the violence in South Africa. The South African police is incompetent. It's the typical strategy of the Bolsheviks. I'm talking 1917 now. One of their first claims was to neutralize the security structures. And this is where my situation comes in with the whites. Because there's no white leadership. You stick your neck out, you get cut off at the head. So people are victimized, ostracized, but it's all the wrong people. And it all goes back to the legal system. The legal system, the legal system, the legal system. Attorneys, advocates, and judges. What a conspiracy. They shallow. You know, they spoke about Gavin Watson and his religious beliefs, which is utter nonsense. The only beliefs he had was in the God of Mammon. And this is the God that is reigning supreme in South Africa. And this is a travesty in its own. Because giving him credit for Christianity is blasphemy. Because Christianity has become a tool. When you look at the Crusaders, when they crossed from Europe into Turkey, all the black-skinned riders that rushed to them to welcome them, Christians, they killed. And why did they kill them? Because they were seen as the enemy because their skins were black. When you go look at the history, and then they tell us they brought enlightenment and Christianity to the Middle East, they stole all the riches in the Middle East. The Crusaders, when they had problems with one of the French kings who killed off the Crusader leadership, all their minions jumped on ships and made their way to Scotland, where they became known as the Scottish Masons. Eventually, they teamed up with the British Freemasons. So when you go and look at Crusader history and the role of the Freemasons, even until today, can we work with the Freemasons? Yes, we can. Remember one thing, I always say this. If you sail against the wind, you need to tack your sails. You're not going to go at the speed of a Maserati or a Ferrari. You're going to go slow forward, but forward you will be going. So when you look at secrecy, corruption, the payment of the judges, there's only a few names out so far, the rest is still coming. Why did these judges need to be paid off? And they're receiving princely salaries. Why?
That was my question, is what exactly are they being paid for?
Bless you. What has happened now? Because suddenly we find that the judges are giving the judgments according to what Ramaphosa would like. Shamila Batoy, we haven't seen one prosecution of all the evidence in front of the Zondo Commission. And when you come to the Zondo Commission, my affidavits have gone missing. Now they're so-called busy and they were contacting me. From December last year, I've got no record of them actually trying to contact me. According to them, they're contacting me all the while. I found this with SARS when they framed me. The lady in charge of Gauteng, Adele Seaman, said that she was speaking to me for a year already. She only spoke to me one day before I had the meeting at SARS. So one of the things are, there is so much fraud and corruption in the system, but everybody is covering everybody else's asses. I mean, people will come and sit with me and talk to me about Boeremag and that nonsense. All they're doing is trying to set me up. And I say to them, listen guys, take your Boeremag and shove it up your ass. Because firstly, there is evidence that the Voortrekkers stole ground from King Moshoeshoe, from Swaziland. When they camped at the Caledon River, they started squatting. They took the land. Remember? Everything has been fancied up in history. South Africa has been a farcical place. It was only for the nomenclatura. Whether you use Marxist principles or not, you always have the same. It's like in America. The top echelons, they have a different justice for these people because they've got money. And that's what it is. Let me give you an idea of a very nice corruption.
I want to ask you one question before you go
ask
on.
Me.
In America, say we're going to trial for something. So, we can choose one of two things. We can choose trial by judge or trial by jury. Most people would not choose trial by judge. In some cases they do. But, the majority of the time, you're judged by 12 of your peers. So that's who you present your case to. There, do you guys have a jury, or are you just judged by the judge?
No, we don't have a jury for a simple reason. They found in the 1800s that if a jury is compiled, and it's white people, it's a black guy, he will always be found guilty. So they decided to go the route of a judge, but now the judges are influenced. In my case, the judges were influenced by people going from the intelligence and talking to them and making me out as if the biggest criminal, the biggest danger in this world, because I'm speaking the truth. And the simple reason was it was about stealing of contracts. It's about stealing of contracts. And the whole vendetta against me is run from the legal department inside Armscor. That is how it is being run. And then, of course, you've got Defense Intelligence, Philip Kramer from Air Force Intelligence, who is in the dark. They don't mention his name in court documents. They refer to him as a so-called weapons specialist in Defense Intelligence, Air Force Intelligence.
Is
But the
he
big thing
still
is,
defense intelligence today?
yes, it is still. And defense intelligence in South Africa is responsible for all the interception of all communication. They're the second largest institution in the world with all the equipment at their disposal in order to...
Bunch of assholes.
Yeah, but the big thing is, because they're always sitting in the dark. I mean, can you imagine these scum, because they are scum, they low-life scum, sitting there and
They do some
plotting
pretty bad
and,
things.
plot, and plotting my demise. I mean, crime intelligence, you must understand one thing. Until 1992, they were all working on the ANC. The moment the ANC was unbanned, they didn't have anything to work on. That's why people such as Dion Loots, Captain Dion Loots at that time at Crime Intelligence, started working on right-wing threats.
Right.
Now we have the infamous Boerenmacht trial, which in my view was a scam, because 19 policemen received bonuses of between 300 and 400,000 rand in cash. These people were set up.
That's insane.
Jacques Pau, the journalist with the president's keepers, he dined with these people. He was talking to them. In other words, he was an agent provocateur. He set them up.
Right.
And also the problem with these... Yeah, Dion Loots?
Dion Loots, he said that he realized that instead of investigating these so-called extremist groups, that the police infiltrated them to such a degree that they were running them in a lot of instances. And they were leading innocent people that set out to just have a group for defense in case of anarchy or, things like that, that they led these normal, everyday people to be criminals, which here, we call it entrapment. And he said that that's, he started speaking out about it, and he almost had a nervous break.
Interesting how the sound went bad the moment you started speaking about that. But the main thing is, this whole thing was scripted by Lieutenant General Mark Hankel. Mark Hankel is today the head of protocol in the police. He shagged Dion Lewis's wife. He made her pregnant and she had an abortion. So I see we're over 25 minutes. Shall we finish here now and we'll do another one?
Sure.
Okay, so let's finish this for now.
Okay, so we'll end on that note, guys, and thank you very much for watching, and I will talk to you later.